Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm the curator of Self Portraits, and we're talking with Dove Fuchs today. He's the artist for the solo exhibition, The Human Essence and Transformation of Dove Fuchs. That's live online. If you haven't already checked it out, it's on the Self Portraits on Fire website, and it's also in our bio link. So check it out if you haven't yet. Um, and so we're just going to have a casual conversation between curator and artist. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you more and have more details about your work and your series.
Yeah, this will be my pleasure to tell you and hopefully our audience as much as they would like to hear about me and my art.
Of course. And people are joining, so if they have comments, feel free. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask questions and we'll try to get to most of them. And if there's any questions I see for you, Dove, I'll let you know.
Yeah, very good, because I'm not sure if I can see this thing with this light ring in my face.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Yeah, if I see anything, I'll let you know. But
Very
we could
good.
get started though. Um, yeah. So how about you give a little bit of a context for your series, just a brief background.
Okay. Usually, photographer want to show their audience the things that they see or they love. Uh, In my case, I think I would like to show my audience things that nobody else can see. I mean, the only place the things that they see in my images are in my imagination. There is no place you can see actually the things that happen on the screen. And everything I do is pre-thought, pre-staged, pre-processed, cross-processed, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely for sure. I see that in your work, just going through your series and curating it, and you sent a lot of information about it as well. So that added a lot of context to each image itself and as a whole. So just learning more about it was very interesting, and your use of AI and Photoshop and just your how you put it, your imagination really comes through and creates these surreal landscapes. And it's something I've never seen before. It's quite interesting and it's compelling.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Hmm. So when you use AI, do you tell AI what kind of scene you want, or do you pick it from something that already exists?
Okay, let me tell you more about the process. Usually people ask me, I mean, this is a very frequent question that I'm asked.
Mhm.
How long does it take you to generate or to create an image? And I usually tell the person that asks this question that the most difficult thing is to come up with the idea. It's not like a photographer who goes out, he knows exactly there is this ridge, he wants to capture the image right after the sun comes on the horizon, and you have this wonderful light, the golden hour, and things like that. So he's there with his camera, ready to shoot whenever the sun peaks over the horizon or over the ridge or whatever. For me, it's a totally different thing, because I need to come up with an idea. If you study my images, you would observe that there's a story in every image. Something is happening there that, with the intention that my viewers or my audience will try and see what's going on there, and maybe, hopefully, they'll be able to come up with something new for them, something that will provoke new thoughts, new way of thinking, or whatever. For example, I just finished, two of the most recent images that I had. One is called the road not taken. And it refers to this famous poem by Robert Frost. And um, I place myself, I mean, in every picture that I take, I'm the protagonist. I think I have over 120 images, and only in one of them there is another person other than me. So I place myself in this situation, and I shoot myself. Even the shooting is done by myself. I don't have any assistant or any support. Yeah, I put my camera on a tripod. I use my cell phone with an app to be able to do remote control, and I can see exactly what I'm shooting. So I shoot with a delay. I place myself in the right position, and I press on this button, and I have like 10 seconds to enter into this position. So exactly in this image that I was talking about, this the road not taken, I generated the scenery.
Okay.
I was trying very hard to find the bifurcation of this dirt road, because this is what this poem is saying. And so I asked the AI to generate an image, and for some reason it would never do it. So I had to work very hard and try to convince him using generative fill in Photoshop, just to make sure that I have a very distinct bifurcation of this trail. And then I decided that the image is not good enough, because I need to put some fog, because you can never tell what's going to be in the future, as the poem says. So I have to create a screen of fog. Again, this was done by AI. And then I had to place myself, after I knew exactly what the image is, I had to shoot myself in the right perspective to be able to generate this image and carry on the message I wanted my viewers to be able to see with their own eyes. This is basically how I work with AI. In many cases, there is no AI in my images. I mean, I just do the photography, and actually even the background and myself. But in other cases where it's more difficult to find an exact location, or a totally different, I mean, I have a picture of myself on the dark side of the moon. I mean, it's quite hard, I would say, to go there and take a picture of myself on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
That's interesting. You use AI as a tool, and also your own hand as a photographer, and as the one also implementing the post editing around the image. And so I find that interesting that you're still using AI, but your creative imagination and your conception of the project is still fully in your hands. And
yeah, because I have so many friends that they are so proud of their quote unquote art they are creating with, for example, Midjourney. They tell the system or the app just wrote this amazing, beautiful picture, and they, for some reason, think that this is their art, their creation. And I strongly disagree that this is art first, art, and then their art.
Yeah.
So I take only segments that I cannot generate in any other conventional way, and do it with AI. But by no means ever any images of mine will be entirely generated by an AI application. I mean, in every image I create, there's a very strong presence of first myself, which I'm not a creation of AI, I think. So, and then some other elements that are not AI.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I definitely see that in your work. It's not heavily relying on AI. You use the application, but I definitely see your hand in the work itself. So I
Yeah,
appreciate.
otherwise, it wouldn't be my art. It would be someone else, something that people tend, for some reason, to call art.
Mm-hmm. I think that ties into what you said earlier, how in your images you are the protagonist and you are transforming yourself, but also you're putting forth these challenges as well, and that challenges the perception of the viewer. So I think that is definitely present in your self-portraits, and I think it definitely invites people to see that you're physically inserting yourself in the work, but also your messages in a surrealist way. So I've definitely that definitely resonates with me. So
Yeah, I'm present in my images. The numbers I appear my image are between one, or let's say if I take a picture of myself from the back and nobody knows that it's me, let's call it half me, to this one image that I counted and found that I have 31 duplicates of myself.
oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's an image called Exodus 2023, and you can see a convoy of people passing the river. I'm not sure if you remember this image, but I photographed myself in I think six different, how would I call this? Like different shirts, pants, coats, and whatever, and created six different appearances. And then I changed the colors of, for example, the coat and created another appearance. And I have like 30 something different appearances of the people that are on their exodus.
Mm, mm.
So, uh, so I range between one or less than one and 31 images of myself in one picture.
That's a lot. It's a I think sometimes people that are non-artists, they don't see how much work it entails for one image. It could be a very long process of
Yeah.
compositing.
The first image I did so was in the time of lockdown during the COVID-19, and
Mm,
it was forbidden to leave your residence.
yeah.
So I decided to throw a party with myself. So I captured myself again in five different costumes, if you want to say. One with a tie, one with shorts, one with long sleeves and different colors and everything, holding a glass of, I think it was wine, and toasting and saying, okay, I'm going to have a party with myself during the COVID-19 times. I think this was one of the very earlier images that I permitted myself. I mean, it was a process to be able to photograph myself. I never thought I would do that. And
Yeah.
this was done only due to the fact that I was introduced to the work of Brooke Shaden. She's a very famous artist that I had the honor and pleasure to participate in one of her conventions. She calls it promoting passion convention.
Mhm.
And this was done uh, in last August. It
Nice.
was an amazing experience.
That,
So I was introduced to her work like 3 or 4 years ago, and I said, well, listen, this lady, she is taking a picture of herself. This could be a good idea. So, I mean, at the beginning, I was very hesitant, but later on, I gained some more of a belief in myself. And right now, I'm doing all my images just with myself as the protagonist.
Yeah, for sure. I find that really inspiring that other artists that do self-portraits can inspire people from every area, every walk of life, doesn't matter where you're from. I love her work as well. I never met her or went to her convention, but um, I've definitely heard of it on social media. So it's interesting how things come full circle when you meet people and they have those experiences. So.
Yeah, she's an amazing artist, eh, but she has her advantages, which I consider as my disadvantage. Eh, she she is young and beautiful, and I'm old and bald, let's say. And I don't wear dresses which flutter in the wind and create this beautiful image, or I don't have long blonde hair, but so I'm trying to catch the interest of it's not that I'm criticizing her work. I mean, she does beautiful, meaningful, and very deep thought images, but she has a very clear advantage. So I'm working very hard to compensate for this disadvantage. I mean, who would look at an old man unless he has something which could be meaningful?
Mhm. Yeah, that is a big I don't know if topic is the right word, but that is a big thing in art itself, people sort of beautifying themselves, and they have that advantage through age and Photoshop. But I think I've seen a lot of social critiques within art and self portraits of people using their body, their figure, metaphorically, physically, that their presence says more than their appearance. So I applaud you and other artists that I've met that, you know, they're very unapologetic in using themselves, and your work does speak to ageism in certain contexts, and your transformation within a span of time. Your work definitely shows that that sort of journey, this introspective journey and self-reflection of time and your self-identity, how you contend with that in these moments. So I'd say your work is very reflective. So.
And I have to admit that this was one of the reasons why I selected your website, which is titled Self Portraits. I mean, on fire, let's put it aside, but it's dedicated to self portraits. And this is what I do. So I said this could be the right place to post my solo exhibition. And
Oh, thank you.
I was very happy that you accepted my proposal to have my solo exhibition on your website.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm honored to have curated your work in your series. Um, and you're the first male artist that has a solo exhibition on the online gallery. So that says a lot. As we were talking before, a lot of the self-portraiture is sort of female based, but I have seen a lot of male artists on Instagram, and their main thing is self-portraiture as well. So it definitely is a niche for people. It transcends gender and age and your ethnic background. So and definitely self-portraits on fire as a platform. There's no boundaries. It's accepting of everybody. So I welcome everyone from all over the world that makes self-portraits within the photo and lens-based medium. So it's an honor to meet people from everywhere.
Yeah, I want to comment on that, and I was amazed by the brilliant and very talented people that I met during her convention, Brooks convention, the majority indeed was female artists. I mean, and I made contacts and I met friends with some amazing female artists, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that this is so.
Me too. I'm happy we're doing this. I'm happy that you've had those experiences. They sound very positive and eye-opening. There's a lot of creativity there and room for growth. Just meeting people and they have these different perspectives that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have known or you could implement in your work. So that's a great thing.
Okay, just one, let's put it, a smiley comment. My wife says that I suffer from narcissism. That I portray, I mean, I'm the protagonist of my image, and this is why I created the two images, which are one is called the diagnosis a narcissism, and the other one is titled diagnosis acute narcissism. And in both of them, you can see my image with the daffodil, which is in Hebrew it's called narcissus. And this is the flower when the Greek mythology protagonist he, he fell in love with his image in the pond, and he, as he was talking to himself, he fell into the water and drowned. And on the shore of that lake bloomed the daffodil again, which is called in Hebrew Dokis. So.
That
And I
is
said, well, maybe she's right. I don't know, but this is what I do. And if someone doesn't like it, it's his problem.
That's an interesting point. That some people may think that self-portraiture is narcissistic or there's some sort of vanity, but of course I would argue it's not. But I like your take on those two self-portraits, which are exhibited on the show right now. I remember those two self-portraits
Yeah.
because they were very.
As I told you, I have my degree in my master's degree in Hebrew and Hebrew literature and comparative literature. I mean, I just hesitated about the right title in English. And whenever, and I did it on the have a track for creative writing. So to be correct, actually very precise, my degree is in creative writing in Hebrew and comparative literature. And all my professors used to say, write about the thing you know best. And what else could be better than the thing that you know best? I mean, I'm the only person that knows who I am inside. And there's a Hebrew Israeli poet that says, all I tell is just about myself. All I can tell is just about myself. And I am trying to share with my audience or my viewers the things that a 76 years old person wants to tell about himself. All the problems or the traumas or any other thing that is related with the fact that time is flying by and there's no going back.
Yeah.
So in many cases, you'll see in my images, you'll see hourglasses and melting clocks and all these things that imply that the march of time is unstoppable and irreversible.
Of course, that's very evident in the work. I've noticed those motifs of time, passage of time, looking at oneself and reflecting. on the passage of time. Yeah, that's very evident, and your those themes and those concepts present themselves in different ways through those motifs, through those emotional themes as well, that make up the images. And that's, I could definitely see in some of your images, you insert actual images of your past as well. That's
Oh yeah,
interesting.
one of this, I think that this particular image you're relating to is called the spiral staircase of memories,
Yes,
and the other one is called the fragments of memories. It's
yes. And
in the other one, I'm in the middle of a river, symbolizing time and various like fragments of glass, shattered glass, carrying my images, various images. But the other one, in the spiral staircase of the memories, I'm walking up the spiral staircase, which again is generated by AI, and on the walls you can see, I think, over 20 different images, actual images that were captured when I was a little child. I mean, I was not the photographer
mhm.
because at that time I didn't know too much about photography, uh, but they they are placed there according. I mean, there is one image. I think this was my first ever image in my life. I think I was something like 2, 3, or 4 weeks old, being carried by my mom, and I think that this is one of the images. In this particular image, there's also like this spiral staircase is going up, but on the bottom right side of this staircase, on the wall, you can see the images of my mom and my grandmother. My grandma was carrying my mother. So this is the way things go. We're based on the past, the things that our parents did.
Yeah, I could see that in that image. It's very thoughtful, and it makes me think about how we can source images from our life, even though we haven't taken them, but it becomes a part of us, and it sort of forms parts of our identity in a way, and we can put that together in how we see fit. So that's an intriguing concept to me. And I'm also intrigued by your other image called the inner child.
Oh yeah,
hmm I like how
yeah.
cool that is, but you're cracking, your younger self is almost out of your present self.
Well, this is, I'll tell you the story behind this thing. This image was taken when I was, I think I was 13 years old. And the only fact that enabled me to accurately define my age on that image was the fact, something that you don't see in the image. Next to me, I was holding my young sister. She was at that time, she was 2 years old, roughly give or take a few months.
Oh,
Uh, we are apart 11 years. So this is how I decided that I was 13 at that time. I was very happy to be able to hold her. She is very close to me, and even today. And she doesn't show up in this image because I photoshopped her out of this thing because the subject of this image was me. Again, I have to mention that my wife occasionally tells me, "Listen, you behave like a kid." So she means that in a not too favorable meaning, but I think that I'm very happy to be able to behave like a kid, and I really hope that this kid that existed 60 or 70 years ago inside is still doing pretty well. Is still alive, is still there, and he still influences me in my thinking, my behaving, and I hope he is well for a long time to come up in the future.
yeah. I that's very interesting to me, the inner child concept, to actually visualize that. You know, everyone has an inner child, but through your self-portrait series, it's
In many cases, this is inner child is depressed, and our education is trying to eliminate as much as possible his existence because it's conceived to be. I mean, when you say childish, it's not. It's not a positive thing.
mm-hmm.
I look at it as positive, and I really enjoy every moment I have the opportunity to be with my grandkids, which are very close to me and have a very a big place in my life. I spend 3 days a week. I go and pick up my grandkids from school. I have 5 grandkids, and 2 of them live like 10 minutes walk from my place. And I mean, 3 times a week, I take them out from school and give them lunch, and then we sit and we do many things, and it's incredible to be able to interact with these young minds, which are not put in all the squares that we tend to put our minds as we in the education, quote unquote, process of our schools.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, a lot of that whimsy and the, you know, that innocence of a inner child is looked at in a negative light, you know, when you grow up, like you mentioned, like through a school system. So it's nice that as artists, we can look in within ourselves and see our inner child and want to put light to that in a positive way and reflect on it and have a connection with it. I can see that you have a connection with that in your series and with the inner child, more of like the past and then the present and the in the future. It's all like
Yeah, the
this.
future is quite, I mean, it's very hard to predict things, especially, I mean, there's a joke saying it's very hard to predict things, especially about the future.
Mhm. Yeah, I think most of us make art that is about the past and then maybe how we want to feel in the present, but um, in the future, I don't know. I guess it depends on the artist. Would you ever do a self-portrait about looking into the future?
I have an image. I'm not sure. This image was created after we finished the selection of our. You finished your selection of the images for this exhibition, and
Mm-hmm.
in one image, which I call, I created a series called the Mirror World. Something I don't know how it came up to exist, but there is a series of I think 7 or 8 images about the mirror world, and in one of them is an image that I call meeting my young me. So you can see myself staring face to face with the young me. The young me has hair on his head, he has a beard, and his face is a little different. And this confrontation could be reflected to the future or the past. So if we look at ourselves face to face, uh, to our young or old me, this is maybe you just gave me an idea for another image. Meeting my old me, which well, I'm old enough to meet anyone, but this would be an idea. I'm not sure exactly how I would portray my older me. This could be a challenge because I cannot lose more hair because it's almost non-existent, and it would not make a great difference in the image. So have to think about something else that will portray the message that this gentleman is much older than myself. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, it's something I have to think about.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good to get ideas. Perhaps maybe an abstract concept in some way could help illustrate
Yeah.
you. But that's interesting. Very interesting. I'm just looking back at all your images in my head. There was one, it was called, I don't remember the whole title, but had the word Venetian in it, I believe.
Oh yeah, it's Venetian memories. I mean, again, it refers to a novel tale saying something, Venetian memories, or something like that. I don't recall exactly who wrote it, but I portrayed myself and changed my image. I added something like a beard on my face and possibly hair. And in the distance, I placed myself in an AI background of Venice, uh, because Venice is associated with the death and the plague. And you can see on the balloon, the hot air balloons that are floating over the river there, the canals, images of people from my past.
Yes.
So again, this is similar to some other things that I did with, as we were talking earlier, about this staircase with images, or this the fragments that were flying over the river. And by the way, I think this could be a good place to refer our audience, if they are here, to my personal website. Is there any way we could add
A
the
comment.
URL of my website, so that they maybe after this presentation they'll be able to see the works there?
Sure, I could also add a comment right now. Let's see. It was dovedigitalart.com.
Yeah, Dov Fuchs, D-O-V, Fuchs is F-U-C-H-S. This is how you write Fox in German.
Okay.
Digital art. Dov Fuchs Digital Art. I mean, all in small characters and in a string, like I don't know how many characters. .com.
Yeah. So it was dovefuchsdigitalart.com, correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I just sent that through the live stream, so people can refer to that now, and then
And I have
later.
there like 15 sets of images, each containing 8 images, over roughly 120 images, different images for this Me and Myself series.
Yes, I looked at your website when I was selecting more images, and you have a very prolific body of work, just very, very extensive, all of your ideas and how they're broken down into themes or series or editions. Yeah, it's very, I'm very inspired by the whole thing. Yeah, I just added the link now so people can see it now. And then once I post the live stream, I can also put a link there so people can take a look as well.
Okay. There is also, I mean, in this group of 15, Me and Myself series, I have another series of aging statues. It's in which I place myself as in the positions of famous statues like Rodin's The Thinking Man, or David by which appears in Michelangelo, or things from the Sistine Chapel, or what else do I have there? Oh, I have Atlas, myself as Atlas, or some other very famous statues. And the disc thrower is another example. So I expose my old body as a comment on the beautiful and young bodies of the Greek or Renaissance statues, which worship the beauty of the young body. So I said, okay, there's an old body too here, which also deserves some respect.
Of course. I like how you put that. It dignifies your body at this time. It doesn't have to be an aesthetic of some standard beauty norm. I remember the image atlas from the exhibition and on your website.
Yeah, there's Atlas, there's Sisyphus, and some. I'm a very great fan of the Greek mythology, and I read the Odyssey numerous times and many other novels. So, and
Wow.
this is a source, a very good source for my images, for the creation of my images.
Yeah, I admire how you take these different aspects of image. You recontextualize them for yourself in this very reflective way. It's making me think about my own ideas for myself. It's inspiring me to look at my body of work as a self-portraitist in a different way. So that's very inspiring.
Let me
Just a
tell you one thing I did. I mean, this is, yeah, partially I would say insane. But I have like 120 images that were generated on Photoshop.
Mhm.
So I embarked on a project that all my images, as you definitely remember, have their description detailed by the AI app. And I also generated a thematic analysis of all the major themes in each of my images. So I have an Excel file with all my work, and whenever I want to look at one of the images or just to try and create a different images, this is a tool that I use for my future work.
That's very intriguing. The AI is a tool. I haven't used that myself. I should I should take a note from you and start playing with it, seeing what ideas as a starting point.
AI, I use AI also for brainstorming.
Mhm.
I try to come up with the craziest ideas. I use it to generate draft images to see, well, what can I learn from this machine? And this will stir up my juices of my imagination. And this I mean, it's a common process. I just finished viewing some images from what is called the Photoshop Virtual Summit. I mean, this is the sort of a convention that happens one every year, and it provides you with 40 different presentation, 1 hour presentation about the new things, the new features of Photoshop. And it's done by a gentleman, Dave Cross, and he does a great job in assembling 40 different 1 hour presentations, which at least a quarter of them are very, very relevant to the things that I do. So uh, I, I viewed this image, this one of the tutorials recently, and people say that they use AI for brainstorming or for discussion of checking various possibilities for generating images. So I
Yeah, I,
think you should consider that too. I mean, this is a very effective tool.
yeah, I could definitely see that as we're talking more. it's something I definitely want to try out at least as another stepping stone for idea making or as a tool. If you're in a program like Photoshop, you can start AI first and then see how it goes. It's like another step in the creative
Yeah,
process with the
yeah.
digital.
There are external apps like Midjourney or Dali, and there is also the generating fill, which is built in inside Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have an image which was originally created with the help of a AI app, and when you bring it inside Photoshop, you can change some areas with the help of the generative field. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very helpful.
Yeah. And there's even apps with just filters or effects that you could play with just to see them
Yeah.
first. You can also just use it and then, like you said, go into Photoshop or some type of post-editing program or software, and you can play with what you like, what you don't like. I've tried that before on a very minimal scale, but I'm curious to see now with the new apps what it could, what new.
We can talk about that after the interview.
Yeah. I have a question for your art. Would you ever consider putting your family members, your present day family members, like your grandchildren, would you ever implement them, insert them into your self portrait somehow?
Okay, I mean, there's a ground rule. I never present my grandkids, even on my Facebook account. I mean, they're never there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't want to put them in any embarrassing situation or in danger. I mean, all these crazy people that may
Yeah.
get a wrong impression, so they are never there. Although they are a very, very dear part of my life,
Of
and
course.
I say that there are two things that I am very much involved in: is my family, my grandkids, and my the things that I do with my images, but they never combine.
That's a good point. It's true to set limitations and boundaries with your art and how you present it to the world as well. So it's important to take that into consideration.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Um, let's see. I don't see any right now, but we can ask for the people that have joined. Are there any questions that anyone has for Dove or about anything that we've talked about? I can ask that in the comments.
Okay.
Okay, someone says hi. Hello. Let's see. Any questions?
Okay, so I think I would like to continue our discussion and present you with some other sources for my images.
Sure.
As I told as I told you, I have my master's degree in Hebrew and comparative literature, and this is a very good source for to inspire of inspiration. As I mentioned earlier, there's this poem by Frost. This is just one recent example. Uh, I have near like 8 or 10 images that depict scenes from various novels or poems or things like that. For example, there is this one titled "The Poet and the Raven" by
Hmm.
Edgar Allan Poe, uh, or some other one is uh, depicting the scene of the ascension of Remedios the Beautiful from 100 Years of Solitude. I'm not sure if you have this thing running in the US, but here on Netflix we are presently viewing this amazing series of this beautiful novel that I read, I think, at least 3 times.
Okay.
And the is by Jose Garcia Marquez, The 100 Years of Solitude. And it's an amazing novel. And one of the images that I created depicts a scene in this one. There's another one from the Artist of Margarita. It's a Russian novel. And the other one is The Day That Never Ends. So I have numerous things that relate to literary uh, creations.
Wow. Yeah, it's great. I didn't know that poetry and those literary references were an influence on your work. That's very fascinating to me. Oh,
Yeah. So,
I have a question.
as I said, I mean, the most difficult thing is to come up with the idea. The moment you have a good idea, everything else is very, very, let's say, easy. It's not easy, but it's the most crucial phase is generating a good idea. I'm not sure all my ideas are good, but generating a good idea is the most crucial phase in generating an image.
It is. We do have a question for you by Sierra Steph. She asks, what do you think about using just AI to create an image? Is it still yours? Maybe you could clarify that since we were talking about that earlier.
Okay, yeah, we did talk about that. If you have a prompt that you put into Midjourney and say, let's a woman, and AI will generate for you 4 different women, and will say, this is a beautiful lady. And then you say, okay, she is in the middle of a forest, sitting by the river or whatever. I mean, I don't consider that as art because first, you don't have any rights on this thing. I checked the legal situation, and everyone else can use your prompt and generate a similar image.
Wow.
But my question is, what is my contribution to this other than telling the machine, do this or that? And I don't consider that as art. Only when I have a significant part of the image is done by myself, then I can say it's mine and also claim copyrights.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. The copyright
Yeah.
and what belongs
There is
to.
no copyright if you generate an image by prompt on, for example, Midjourney or any other AI app.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially since your hand is heavily influenced in the work, then I'm assuming that it belongs to you since you're doing all the the editing and you're making it yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Although in many cases I found my art being stolen from me
Oh,
in various sites. I saw my images in at least 10 locations. As I said, this is an image done by DOF folks, and I never gave them any authorization to present my art. Neither did they send any money if they ever sold anything. So there is this problem of copyrights, and I'm not going to waste my time suing someone in, for example, in Slovakia or the Czech Republic or India for that matter.
wow. So, wow, that's an interesting concept right there. How many times has this happened to you?
Numerous times.
Wow. So how are you aware of it? Do they notify?
Oh, occasionally I do. I ask my AI app search the web for me and find my name.
Oh,
And in many cases, they come up with the image sites, image repositories, and say that this image was done by Dropbox. I said, well, I never gave you any permission to display my art, but it's a futile exercise to try and be in touch with this person or institution or whatever. because in many cases you don't have any access to their website. I mean, they don't give you the tools to connect to them. And I say, well, I better do the things that I love to do, use my creative process, other than spending my time and effort and money on trying to chase them or make them delete my images from their website. Let them enjoy it.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. It would be time consuming. Unless
Um,
you monetize it off of you, then that would be a different story, you know.
And I really wonder about the quality of the image they would try to sell, because all they have is just a 72 dpi resolution that is a typical resolution of a screen, and it will be a miserable image.
Wow. So, just to clarify, that I understand, they're able to see when you do a search for your name, people are able to see your images because you use the AI applications or because it's on the web just from your website and
It's just on the web. I mean, it's not I have. I mean, there is a very good web AI application that helps you search the web. It's Perplexity.
okay.
Uh, every app has its advantages. I mean, never use, for example, OpenAI to do a web search. If you want to do a web search, do it on Perplexity. If you want to consult, do brainstorming, do it on OpenAI.
Mm.
You want to come up with some very good ideas, use Claude. I mean, there are numerous apps. Each one has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. You have to still be careful using
Yeah,
these.
although you can do a very simple Google search and you'll find basically the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Wow, that's the new information that I never knew before about you know.
You search your images and you'll be surprised by the number of people that stole your work.
Wow, that's it's not a good feeling, but what can you really do with the internet
Well,
nowadays?
it's a good feeling. I say, okay, they think they can sell it. I mean, well, it's a compliment.
Mm. Yeah, that's why there are websites for copyright, so you insert all of your images that you want to be copyrighted under this special site. I forgot what it's called, but
Well,
so
if I have if you look at my website, the one that we just gave the URL,
mhm.
and you do alt print screen, so you have a 72 dpi image of the screen,
Yeah,
and you can do whatever you want. You can use Topaz applications to to increase the size of this thing, but again, the quality would be nothing close to the original.
of course. Yeah, that's the thing. The websites do compress it even more when you upload it, and
Yeah, especially on websites like Facebook, or in many cases you send your image on WhatsApp. The resolution is miserable.
yeah. So there's that. I mean, there are some things through software, image software, where you can embed the copyright into your image itself when you save it as a JPEG or as a
Okay,
file, like the original Photoshop file or whichever
and, and,
program you're.
and then a website in India comes up and steals your thing and say, okay,
Hmm.
Joe, go run up to the wind and try and sue someone in India.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's not worth it at that
No, it's
point.
not worth it. It's a waste of time and money.
hmm Yeah, it's only worth it if you have notoriety and you're at a higher scale and your work is
Yeah.
worth some, astronomical amount. But yeah.
People ask me, why do you do that? I mean, I don't do that for the money. I do it because I enjoy the process. And if there's a case that someone will be willing to buy this thing, it will be just a compliment. I'm not going to get rich from this thing. It's just a pleasant feeling if someone wants to buy my image.
Yeah, I think it's important that you make the art for yourself, and then if people are they like it, they want to know more about it, then you create that community around it. That's a rewarding feeling to be a part of, that people can see your work and they want to know about it, ask you questions about it. That's part of the process.
Okay. Any other questions you have in mind?
For me, I think I've asked a lot of questions, but if you want to talk more about your background, I know we briefly
Oh,
talked about your background with science. Is there anything
yeah.
that
I have my bachelor's and master's degree in aerospace engineering. My specialty, I specialize in rocket propulsion. So, as I said, you can refer to me as a rocket scientist. And although I can tell you that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a rocket scientist. And I worked in this area for over 30 years. And when I retired, I think it was like 17 years ago, was early retirement. And as my grandmother used to say, God gives you nuts when you don't have any more teeth to eat them. So I decided that I want to eat the nuts while I'll still have the teeth for that. So I retired at the age of 58 and something, did some things, and started on a trail of education slash art. So after retirement, I had my degree in psychology, and this is a BA in psychology, and then an MA in, as I said earlier, in Hebrew and comparative literature, which were I enjoyed very
Yeah.
much. Other than that, I published two novels
Oh
in
yeah, that's
the past, and but there was a time I was struggling between these two passions, writing and digital art. Eventually, digital art won.
yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see all those influences, all everything from your background, your education, your career, the influences of literature and all of that just coming together. I think that shows your life in a way, transforms everything that you know, and I think it's definitely a big part of your series in some way, that it shapes it in some way. So I find that very fascinating, and it's nice to see all those pieces come together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, I want to ask the audience if they have any questions for you before we end. We did talk a lot about your series, which again is called The Human Persistence and Transformation of Dove Fuchs, and that's live online right now on the Cell Portraits on Fire website. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And it's also in our bio link there. And also your website is through the link in our bio link once you click on the website, and I will post that again
And
after.
I also have something on Instagram, my site on Instagram. It has also a link to my website.
Mhm. Of course, yes, that will be there too. Once the live is over, it will be shown again on my feed. So people that didn't get a chance to see it, they'll see it, and all the links will be there as well. But I do want to ask if anyone else has any questions. I will ask them. Any last questions? Oops, there we go. Oh, here's one. Sarah Steph again. She says, "What do you think the future of the art looks like? Like big changes?" Okay. I think she means in general, the future of art, if there's any big changes. What are your opinions?
I think that the impact of AI will be very, very large. Every person that is doing something for his living has to be on the alert these days, because we are at the beginning of a huge revolution. It's like someone just invented the wheel the day before yesterday, and something very, very big is going to happen.
Yeah.
We can't even imagine the things that I'm trying. As I said earlier, I also published two novels. I wrote two others, which I finished, but I never tried to market. And I thought about just one dream thing was to write a novel about the future, about a place where nobody works, and they are just getting this monthly allowance to be able to survive because all the works are done by AI, by robots, and things like that. I'm not sure exactly. I'm trying to figure out what would be a mechanism of this thing. If you have all the factories that generate incredible amounts of products, but who can buy them if they don't have money? And you don't have money if you don't work. So how is this thing going to work? I have no idea. I'm trying to stretch my muscle of my mind and come up with a good theory or a good way of thinking. And so far, I don't have anything. But this is going to affect every field of our life, including art.
Yeah.
Exactly how I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
there's a big change in the horizon.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely already taking on big changes with art and social media. There's already, a controversy surrounding, what's real, what's original, but I see AI just, popping up everywhere just on, regular applications with Google and other search engines. It's, if it's already happening on this scale, then, the future is definitely going to be something else, but yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. I feel good about our talk. I think we delved deep into your series, and a lot of people joined, so that's great. And more people will definitely watch this too once I post it. So, oh, you're welcome, Sarah. Yeah, so I feel good. Is there any last comments you want to say, Dove?
I really enjoyed our talk, and I think we'll have to talk after this interview about some of the things that we can do together, or I can help you with the thinking. And it was a pleasure having this interview. In many ways, it clarified to me some of the things that I was trying to say.
Oh,
And
good.
then hopefully someday we'll have another interview.
I would like that. That would be great. It was good to
Okay,
talk.
yeah, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.